Right, welcome to this episode on my channel, and today I'm going to talk to you about Daniel Petry. Now, this was a case coming out from Brazil. A lot of the research I did was in Portuguese, but I did find a website that was translated into English. So I'm just going to read the general information regarding this case. I'm going to give my own opinion, put some humor into it, but I will give you the full details because it's a very, very gruesome case. I might become a little bit aggressive with my thoughts. Just keep that in mind. If you do end up liking this video, please subscribe. It happened around 2006, 2007, right? There's no specific date. But Daniel Petry had always been a rebel and very aggressive since he was a child in terms of his behavior. He would always react with extreme violence to the slightest provocation. And as a result of this, his parents sent him to psychiatric therapists, but Petry abandoned these sessions and then he eventually left school, as in he dropped out of high school, so to speak. Now, at home, Daniel generally spent time watching Brazilian TV shows, surfing the internet, and most importantly, playing online role playing games. The game he was playing in question is called Tibia. Now, from what I know, Tibia is similar to World of Warcraft. Don't worry, don't be alarmed. This isn't a anti or pro gaming video, but gaming plays a big role in his behavior. And Tibia is the kind of game where you go around and you do a bunch of missions, you go up levels in the game. You can also purchase in-game currency, so you can buy customizable items, all that good stuff. I'm sure there's more to it, but that's the general idea. And it was in this online world that Daniel would befriend a guy by the name of Gabriel Kuhn, who was 12 years old. Now, what's key here is Gabriel was actually local to Daniel. I play online games. Well, I only play the one game, which is FIFA, the soccer game, right? Many of you may play online games. It's not often you end up playing someone who's in the same city as you. Do you know what I mean? So this was actually particularly peculiar in this case. Now, on one occasion, right, Gabriel asked Daniel if he could borrow 20,000 in Tibia's online virtual currency. A lot of these games have their own currency, so you can buy in-game items. Some of you might call it microtransactions. Now, Daniel agreed upon the promise as long as Gabriel would give it back. So Daniel gives him 20,000 tibia. And then over time, Daniel slowly asks for it back, right? Daniel's like, hey, bro, can I get some in-game currency? I'm trying to do my thing over here. Whatever it may be, right? I'm just trying to guess how the conversation may have gone. But Gabriel basically told him to get lost, and he banned him from like his in game you have communication and stuff. He banned Daniel, so this annoyed Daniel, right? He took it personally, for sure. And so Daniel called his mother, right? And his mother says, I don't know when I'm going to be home. His mother was out. I don't know when I'm going to be home, but whatever it is you need to do, go get it done. So Daniel ends up going over to Gabriel's house. Now, at this point, Daniel and Gabriel had met, hung out a few times, whatever, right? So Daniel said, look, he knocked on Gabriel's door. Gabriel opens it and he goes, hey, I want to talk to you about the in-game currency. I'm sorry with the way I behaved, etc., etc. He goes in, he closed the door. The moment he closes the door, he attacks Gabriel, right? Daniel grabs him and then he starts beating him violently. Takes him to the room, right? Into Gabriel's room, and he ends up sexually assaulting him in a very violent way. And after Daniel put his pants back on, he noticed that Gabriel was lying on the floor with a lot of blood. He was crying, and then he started to laugh. And the reason why he started to laugh is because in South America, in Brazil, particularly back in 08, 09, before 2010, homosexuality or homosexual acts were very much frowned upon and ridiculed in society, right? So he laughed at him, saying, hey, I'm now going to tell the world and they're all going to make fun of you. Do you know what I mean? So Daniel, through, I guess, shame of this and also through embarrassment and obviously like the guy's laughing at him, he just beat him up and the guy's laughing at him, right? So he's like, well, I want to give him more punishment. He grabbed the cable cord of the game console, the power cord. He wrapped it around Gabriel's neck and then he strangled him, right? And he took Gabriel's body. There's blood all over the floor. He takes Gabriel's body and he tries to hide it in like this crawl space, right? But when he lifts up the body, he realizes, hey, this is too heavy. And this is where the story gets a bit gruesome. And I think to myself, this imbecile, right, who rubbed his two brain cells together, realized the solution to this was he got a knife. He went to the kitchen, he got a knife. Then he went to the garage and he got a hacksaw, right? And he started to cut off Gabrielle's leg. But guess what he didn't know? He didn't realize Gabrielle's actually still alive. He was just unconscious. And like, I can't believe this in the story. As he cuts his leg off, Gabrielle wakes up. Like, oh my days, imagine the pain. Right? Like, he's screaming. He is screaming and crying due to all the immense pain. It's like if you have surgery and you wake up in between, like, just imagine the pain, right? So seeing Daniel sees Gabrielle in pain and that he's still alive, this actually filled Daniel up with more joy and more excitement. And at that moment, he actually, like, as he's cutting the leg, right, he starts changing the angles and he starts cutting him even more. And he does it faster and he does it slower and he starts taunting and Gabrielle ends up fainting in shock. Um, and then once Gabrielle passes out, Daniel tried to again put him in that crawl space, but he still couldn't manage to do it. So he decided that he's gonna take off, like, he cut off the legs, both legs. He separates the body basically, right? And then what he does is that he carves the symbol of Tibia, the game. He carves it into Gabrielle's chest, and then he leaves the body on like one side of the hallway, and then he leaves the legs on the other side of the hallway. I mean, that's like, geez, what do you even make of that, huh? So shortly after that, Gabrielle's brother comes home. He walks in and he drops to his knees. Right now, imagine you walk in and you see some legs on the floor. I don't know if I don't think at this moment he knew that was his brother, right? And let's just say hypothetically he did not know. But I guess anyone that was to walk in and see half a body with blood everywhere, like, your reaction is, well, there's no words for your reaction, right? You're just gonna, you're in shock, right? And he starts crying. He starts crying for his mother. And then another neighbor came through, saw the body. They end up calling the police, right? Now the police obviously don't know anything. The police searched the house, and they somehow they figured out that we should look at this online game he plays all the time, and they managed to find all the chat messages between Danielle and Gabriel. And looking at the aggressive nature of it, they're like, okay, well, let's go question this guy, right? Like, when someone dies, the last person they have, or is murdered, sorry, the last person they have contact with is generally questioned, as at first they're, considered the main suspect. So shortly after this, Daniel is arrested because he admits to all of it, and there's no hesitation, and to his admittance, and he's showing remorse, astonishing police with the amount of detail of every action and feeling he had while recounting his afternoon with Gabrielle. And what I said earlier about the homosexuality, the only time he gets animated and annoyed at the questioning is when they ask him, "Are you homosexual?" Then he's like, "No, no, 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 no." Whereas, like, he spoke to them in a calm manner, going through every detail with excitement because he enjoyed this killing. And medical examiners also concluded, after looking at the body, that it had been sodomized. Now, Daniel Petry was admitted to a juvenile delinquent center to be sentenced, and in September of 2007, he only received 3 years. Yes, he received 3 years, and they call it a socio-educational punishment. I looked this up and I thought maybe socio-education, maybe it's a Brazilian thing where you're actually going to jail. They just word it differently. Maybe this is semantics, right? It is. It is semantics. Socio-educational punishment is the same thing, going to jail. I'm guessing their jails are probably like they probably teach young kids, try to give them an education so they can go back into society, etc. Maybe that's why it's called socio-educational. Either way, right? He was jailed for 3 years, which is a laugh. That's a joke. And he did tell the judge. The judge asked him, when he was sentenced, "Are there any remorse? Do you want to apologize to the family, etc., etc.?" Daniel said that Gabriel was a coward and a thief. He burns in hell right now, where I sent him, and when I die, I will find him in hell, and I will finish my revenge. Now, just a bit more information regarding the case. That 20,000 virtual coins, Tibia coins, whatever you want to call it, it was the equivalent of $1.75 in America. You can't even buy a taquito with that. That's not even a gallon of gas for your car. I'm pretty sure a Coke can or chewing gum or a batch of fries costs a lot more. But, I don't want to remain ignorant. Back then, 10 years ago with inflation, I'm sure in Brazil it was a lot of money. Now, after this event, a lot of players who played Tibia stopped playing the game because they were, of course, I guess when you play a game where a role playing game essentially means you make the decisions in the game. You are playing the role of the character. Whereas most games, it tells you what to do, right? You just play along with the story, beat this boss, beat that boss, overcome this obstacle, and you're done. But a role playing game, you can make the in game decisions of nearly every aspect. And I think a lot of Tibia players, maybe they woke up to they were becoming addicted or something, I don't know, but they did have like a online vigil and a tribute to Gabriel. Of course, Petry Daniel was eventually released. Now nobody knows where he is. There's two theories: either he killed himself so he can go to hell and go have his final duel with Gabriel, or he's probably like with the claims of homosexuality and with everybody in his city knowing about this case, he's either left Brazil, and some say he's in America, and it is believed that at some point Interpol made like a profile of him, saying, "Hey, if you see him, please report us." Right. So that's the general story of what happened, and I want to break it down. First thing I want to ask is from what I read, Daniel obviously was very antisocial. He stayed home a lot. Now I am a massive soccer fan. I watch every single soccer game on the weekends. Right, I'm watching at least 7 8 games a weekend for sure. Brazil are hardcore soccer. They're a fanatical soccer country. But I'm trying to. I know, not everyone's going to be into soccer, right? But the thing about the Brazilian culture is soccer isn't a sport. Soccer isn't a pastime. It's a religion, right? All their most famous soccer players are global icons of the game and in society in general. Like in my apartment building where I used to live, literally, I'm getting a coffee, and some guy approaches, and I think he's waiting for me to finish so he can use the coffee machine. He asked me a question. I spoke to him. Where are you from? Usual, polite conversation. He said he's from Brazil. I simply asked him who was better, Ronaldo or Ronaldinho. Now, it doesn't matter to you whether you know those names, but I didn't need to ask him, are you into football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. I didn't need to ask him. I knew, and he gave me his answer, and we just had a conversation about football. Everyone in Brazil is obsessed with football. Therefore, for there to be a child at that age of, being a young adult, right, under 16 or whatever, whose dream is not to become a professional soccer player, and not only that, doesn't care about soccer in general, it seems, then there's something wrong. Again, it's okay to not be into soccer, of course, right? But I'm just trying to emphasize to you the Brazilian culture and what I know of Brazilian people. It's literally the British equivalent of someone from England saying, "I don't like fish and chips." It's like, mate, what's wrong with you? Right? Maybe you need rehab yourself. So there's that. So, and when you and so if he's a recluse, if he likes to be secluded, if he likes to be by himself, it seems to me he swapped reality. So the online world became his real world. In terms of the pleasure and why he took pleasure, my guess is, I'm no expert, so I'm just guessing. In these types of games, there's a certain level that you can reach with certain scenarios to get there. So, firstly, like in these role playing games where you're literally playing real life, the game could tell you, or what you have to do is get a job somewhere, then go kill X person, and when you kill X person, you will get X money, and when you get X money, finally you'll get the car, right? Maybe that mission is a car, right? And maybe there's no job, but generally speaking, in these types of games, there's some form of assault, attack, confrontation. Then there's some form of reward, which is in-game currency, for example, and then with that you'll get like an Easter egg, as they call it, or something else, which could be a car or a special gun or something. But when you immerse yourself in this game all day, all night, like Gabriel did, then I can only assume that his reality was flipped upside down and he become addicted. Addicted to the point where, just imagine what I just explained about a mission. Let's just say he's doing a mission, right? And again, I'm no gaming expert, so I'm just trying to give you the concept, right? None of this is steeped in fact. But just imagine he's now at a part in the game where he's trying to level up, right? He has to overcome an obstacle. And he learns, after trying a few times, he needs in game currency so then he can go buy another gun or whatever it may be and overcome whatever the obstacle is. Right? My man owes me 20,000 G's or whatever you want to call it. Let me go ask him. The guy says, get lost. And then he gets angry. The question is, why would you get so angry at that moment? Because the fact that he couldn't get the coins is what angered him the most. I don't think he's ever thought in his head, I'm gonna do this to Daniel, I'm gonna do this to Daniel, I'm gonna do this to Daniel. I think he started to think it the moment Daniel said, I'm not giving you your coins. Now, as I said, I play FIFA a lot. Right? I'm not a big gamer, but I play that game. It's a garbage game, but that's a different discussion. Right? Because I'm a huge soccer fan. There's no real concept of giving someone else in-game currency in this game. But if I was to give one of my friends FIFA points or whatever, and they wouldn't give them back, just hypothetically, right? I'm gonna be like, all right, mate, see you later. I don't care. And you move on. To be addicted to this game to the point where you kill someone over it suggests to me that this guy had no purpose. He loved that game more than he loved himself. The emotional investment he has put into that game, him getting to a certain level in that game, meant more to him than going to school or to try and understand why he has impulse issues. As I said in the beginning of the story, he was told to speak to a psychiatrist, and I think he did hate himself subconsciously. He didn't love himself, that's for sure. And whatever way he was raised, I would take a guess. Again, I don't want to put parents down because I know it's a hard job, but I think his parents, I won't say neglect him. I don't think they neglected him. My guess would be that they just left him to his own devices. You know, innocently, maybe, harmlessly, maybe. They probably thought he's just a kid playing video games. But if they're just giving him a little bit more attention and just guided him a little bit more, right? As I've said before, one half step too slow, one half step too quick, an inch here or there, maybe he would have taken a different path. But I have a lot of remorse for Gabriel. Of course I do. He died. There's no justification in his death. There's no justification in the way Daniel responded. I don't care how much the in-game currency is. It's just a video game. It's not that deep. I reading this story, generally, I think like Daniel was very disrespectful to his parents. Definitely a problem child. You can tell he was an idiot in school. Had a massive ego, that's for sure. When you are playing a video game and you're leveling up and you're leveling up or whatever it may be, and then you get into this scuffle, right? Your ego is going to be hurt because you can't get to the next level because you're watching other people going forward. Maybe he looked at Gabriel going forward and his ego got hurt, right? Well, I don't care how good a video game is or how big it is, your ego is not that important in comparison to what happened. So hopefully one day someone will find Daniel, right? And hopefully he'll get his comeuppance where he should be in jail for the rest of his life. There's no excusing what he did. So may Gabriel rest in peace. I'm guessing his family's probably over it, or maybe not over it, but gotten used to it. I can't imagine how his mother must have felt, right? My poor innocent son, all he did was play video games. How could this happen? Imagine walking in and seeing your son in two. Oh my days. Anyway, thank you for listening.